Welcome to the Bulldog broadcast on the Field of 68 Media Network. I'm your host, Dan Dickow. First off, thanks to our sponsors who help us make this possible on the Field of 68 platform. ICCU, Denena Family Law and Associates, McGillivray Environmental, and Cooney's Tie. You get a chance, please support any of those businesses as they have supported this podcast. Today's a quick recap of the St. Mary's game, a quick preview of the University of Portland road game on Wednesday, and a quick preview of Oregon State, which is a kind of a quiet week, to be honest with you, for the Gonzaga Bulldogs. When you look at it, it's kind of like moving week, I guess you could say. You got an opportunity to get even more separation between yourself, St. Mary's, and Santa Clara, because Gonzaga obviously sits at 10 and 0. St. Mary's sits at 8 and 2. Santa Clara this week is at Pacific, although Pacific is a much improved team, and at Washington State. So you never know. Washington State, that could be an upset there in the making, especially because Washington State has been playing much better basketball as of late. But I would expect Santa Clara to win both. So they would be sitting at 12 and 1 after this week. I would imagine Gonzaga wins both. So they're sitting at 12 and 0, still half a game ahead. But St. Mary's, they're home against San Diego on Wednesday, and they are hosting San Francisco on Saturday in a huge game that I think is really going to show you what St. Mary's is all about. Because San Francisco sitting at 6 and 5. They've had a little bit of a disappointment of a year, but they only lost to Gonzaga in Spokane by 2. So you look at that, you think, hey, can St. Mary's do what they almost did in Spokane down in Moraga, but pull off the upset, get the win? But I would imagine St. Mary's gets both of those, so I would imagine they will be 10 and 2 at the end of this week. But look at that game against St. Mary's. The question leading up over the last 6, 7 days was, is Graham Ike going to play? Well, they made the comment about a day or so before they looked like Ike was going to play. He was back to his dominant self. 30 points, 5 rebounds, took a couple interesting shots. A three or two that maybe wasn't fully in the flow of the offense or what you would deem a good shot. But here's the deal. Graham Ike is a focal point of what you're doing. He has been over the last 3 years. He's been dominant on a number of occasions. I think you needed to have the ability to give him a chance to get his feet wet and get back comfortable in a number of different situations in that game against St. Mary's. But the other big takeaways for me is carelessness with the ball in the first half. I believe 9 turnovers, 8 or 9 turnovers in that first half. Much better in the second half. But there was a number of just loose with the basketball, lose the ball, go to make a pass, overthrow a pass, try to throw it through a tight window when something really wasn't there. That was clearly addressed at halftime. It was clearly well taken by the guys at halftime and much better job because really they needed it because you knew that St. Mary's wasn't going to go away. St. Mary's is going to keep plodding, keep doing what they do on the offensive end of the floor. That's high pick and rolls. This year it's Dent at the point guard. Years past, obviously, it's been Mahaney or Marshallonis. 15 years ago, it was Mickey McConnell, Joe Rayhan, Emmett Nar. They just do what they do, and they're so good at it. But I thought defensively in that second half, in particular, they were really good taking away opportunities for Morauskas. Gonzaga's field goal percentage defense or field goal percentage defensively only allowed St. Mary's to shoot 34% from the field. So that was key because, like I said, their offense wasn't terrific. But what you're seeing is a team that can find different ways to win in different styles and against different kind of matchups. And you're seeing a Jalen Warley becoming a bigger and bigger piece of what they're doing every single week. With Huff and Ike out, he had to play the 5. Now with Huff back, It gives you obviously more scoring punch, but Jalen Warley is just impacting the game in so many ways. He can literally guard 1 through 5. He's a connector on offense. He doesn't do anything that is not a strength of his. So he does a really good job of playing to what his own strengths are. And he had a good game, 10 points, 7 rebounds. We mentioned Graham Ike's 30 points. But I thought Emmanuel Inocente was really good, especially in that second half. Bulldog fans, we know basketball is all about teamwork, hustle, and having someone you can trust in the clutch. Life isn't much different. When challenges come your way, especially family matters, you need a strong team by your side. That's where Danetta and Associates step in. They're more than just a family law firm. They're your advocates, guiding you through the hard files life throws your way with skill and care. In Spokane and beyond, Danetta and Associates are ready to fight for what matters most, your family. Call 509-325-0125 or visit padlawoffice.com to learn more. That's padlawoffice.com to learn more. Where he hit a couple threes. I think he had a putback, finished with 10 points. His defense, I thought on Dent in stretches, especially when they tried to get into pick and roll actions, was really good. I think at times he gets lost on the weak side, but he does such a good job pressuring the ball, fighting over screens, making life miserable for his opponent. So I thought he played well. Mario, I thought, seeing continual growth from him. Yeah, he was sick for about those 3 weeks around the Christmas time, but he's really starting to provide some consistency at that backup point guard position. And even, he and Braden Smith have played a few minutes together here and there. I would imagine, or I would not be surprised, put it that way. I would not be surprised if he ends up becoming the starting point guard again down the stretch because Braden Smith, um, 2 points, a couple turnovers, loose with the ball on a couple possessions. Um, Not that Gonzaga doesn't typically flow well on the offensive end of the floor with him, and I think he does impact things with his quickness on the defensive end of the floor. But I think your best unit is with Mario out there. A question mark that keeps popping up for this Gonzaga Bulldog team, especially because you've got dominant interior post play with EK and then Huff when he comes back, is your perimeter shooting. Only 6 of 17 from behind the 3-point line. That's a number that's it's got to improve. It just has to. A little bit lower than their average over the course of the year. Um, but that's something, if you're going to make a deep run in the NCAA tournament, you've got to have guys that step up and make threes. But all in all, look, 10-0 in the league. You got a couple road games this week that you don't want to catch up on you. And you're completely sitting in the driver's seat because you've already beat the two teams that are directly below you in the standings in Santa Clara and St. Mary's. But when you look at Portland, it's a team that's been absolutely devastated by injuries. 10 and 14 on the season, 3 and 8 in the league. 5 of those league losses have been in single digits. Washington State, St. Mary's, Santa Clara. They've been in all of those games in the last couple of minutes. They just haven't been able to get uh, over the hump and make those final stops or get that final possession where you get the ball in the right player's hands and allow him to make a play. But I think the big question with Portland, though, is how do you slow down their point guard, Joel Foxwell? He's a freshman who leads them in scoring, leads them in assists. He does a really nice job. He plays with pace. He's able to handle physical play pretty darn well for a young point guard. So I think that's going to be an interesting matchup. Does Braden Smith continue to get the start? Is Mario going to be the starter? We'll find out, but I think Gonzaga's got to do a great job on Joel Foxwell. I think they also have to make threes. We've seen Shantay Legans coach teams, whether it was at Eastern or whether it was at University of Portland, come up with a game plan that essentially, uh, at times they've just completely packed it in and dared Gonzaga to shoot from three. I believe there was a game a couple of years back they hit 17 or 18 threes. With the way Gonzaga's numbers have trended from the 3-point line at times, is that a strategy that he might employ? It'll be interesting to find out. And then the second game in of the week on the road Saturday will be in Corvallis against Oregon State. Now, Oregon State is a team that has tremendous size. They're sitting at 12 and 12 on the season, 5 and 6. They just had a big road win against LMU. Um, you look at last year's trip down to Corvallis. Gonzaga ends up losing in overtime. Michael Ratai's gone. Uh, you're looking at Parsafala, the big fella, is gone. I think they're getting great point guard play in Josiah Lake the second. Isaiah C is a sophomore. He showed some stretches, but then they've also got some really good size on the interior. I believe they've got 4 7-footers. And Wayne Tinkle's teams traditionally have played at a slower pace. They traditionally have played a lot of zone. Um, so I think in knowing those two things, you've got to, again, it's a recurring theme. You got to make 3-point baskets, especially, if a team goes into zone and they're taking away opportunities and angles to enter the ball to the post. You got to find a way to get that zone skewed, and you do that by knocking down shots, but you also do that by, punching gaps off the dribble and then quick ball movement with purpose through the pass. So that's something that I think is going to be key. And then I think on the glass is always going to be key against an Oregon State team, especially with the size that I mentioned that Oregon State has. So without further ado, we want to welcome in University of Portland head coach Shantay Legans. McGillivray Environmental can handle any of your construction needs, specializing in new construction, repairs, residential and commercial asphalt paving, excavation, environmental mediation, and hazardous waste. Reach out to Kip McGillivray at McGillivray Environmental today at 208-556-6384 for your free estimate. Big thank you to one of our sponsors, Cooney's Tie. My family and I live on the north side of Spokane, and we absolutely going to Cooney's Tie, whether it is in person, whether it's takeout. The food is always phenomenal, as authentic of Thai food as I have ever had throughout my travels across this country. Unbelievable service, unbelievable price, unbelievable people that are involved with Cooney's Thai. Whether it's the pad Thai, whether it's the pad CU, whether it's one of their awesome curries, you will be thankful that they took great care of you. Again, Cooney's Thai on the north side. Check them out online today, cooniesthai.com. Whether you want to sit in the restaurant and you have tremendous service or order for takeout, it will be piping hot and ready for you when you show up. Thanks again to Cooney's Thai. Field of 68 Media Network is joined by Portland head coach Shantay Legans as they gear up to host Gonzaga for the last time at the Child Center before Gonzaga heads to the new Pac-12. Coach, you join us. Your team has got a lot of potential. You've lost 5 games in single digits here in league. You've been beset with injuries, and now you're beset by injury yourself. Tell us a little bit about your injury before some of the unfortunate injuries to your roster.
Well, a lot of mentors say don't get out there and play anymore once you have a 40. And so I'm 44 and we're down. We've lost some scout team guys. We've lost some red shirts. So we didn't have enough numbers for 5-on-5 before we left. And so we're just going over some basic zone defense, offense, and I'm on offense and my Achilles popped. So the worst thing that could possibly happen at the time. So I have to I think it's, a lot of the guys kind of joke, former teammates, hey, stop playing. You're not, that's not who you are anymore. So that's where we're at. Beat up.
Well, that's unfortunate. Hopefully you have a quick recovery and I urge you not to fully give up on playing a little bit. Because once
I'll
you're
get
done
back into it.
playing, you're done playing and you don't want that yet.
Exactly. No, I love playing. I mean, that's the best thing in the world. But, this Achilles, man, it's make you think.
So tell us about some of the injuries to your roster, because like I mentioned, you've got five close losses. You played St. Mary's really tough. You played Santa Clara really tough. Washington State, the first time you played them, was a tight game. Um,
Yeah.
how are these injuries, and how have you adjusted to the injuries?
Well, it changed, from the beginning of the year. Foxwell, he's playing really well. He's playing good basketball. He would have been our backup to start the season, but our point guard, went down. Riley Parker went down. He had a foot injury, just hasn't been able to recover like we thought he would. So he has to redshirt a year. Timo George, one of our highly other touted freshmen, I thought would have a big impact on our season. Was having a big impact on our season. Got hurt in the Santa Clara game. I think he was 8 of 8 or 9 of 9 before he went out of the game. He was pretty unstoppable in that game. So he was starting to show what he can do. He tore his shoulder up, and now he's out. He had torn labrum. He just had surgery yesterday. Then we had just a bunch of sicknesses, and then we had a couple guys get hurt. Some of our, one of our starting three men, Matush Hornsky, he was sick. He was sick right when we got back from LMU that trip, and he hasn't played a game or practiced since. So we're just trying to get him back healthy. Don't know, he didn't check out for mono. So, it's just part of a season, and so the way we've adjusted is we try to put, so we can play 5-on-5 a little bit and do some half court stuff, trying to throw people in there. We're just trying to, keep continuity going with our team. We still have the core group, and so they just got to get healthy and unsick, as you could say, and I think we're getting there.
Unsick. Yeah, that's you're not the only team in college
Oh,
basketball that's dealing with this right now. Obviously, this is a Gonzaga centric podcast. Huff
yeah.
is out for we don't know how much longer. EK missed a few games. Darren Peterson at Kansas. So all good coaches have little adjustments. What are the
Yeah.
adjustments you've had to make?
Well, we've had to switch it up almost every game this last three. I mean, you got to think like uh against St. Mary's, we didn't have our starting two or three. They both were out sick and hurt, and so we've had to adjust on the fly. Like I've don't laugh, but I have one of our grad students is now playing minutes in our team right now. Sam Nolan, he's actually playing. He's not playing bad. He's a good player. He's just he was not expected to do that. We've had to turn some guys who haven't played a lot of minutes to playing more minutes than they've ever played before, and more minutes than they played all season the last couple games. And so, like you said, every team's going through it. I tell our guys, no one's gonna feel sorry for us. We don't got to feel sorry for ourselves. Just go out there and play. As somebody, I don't want to keep saying, "Hey, next man up" type of stuff, but it's giving other guys chances to rise and build their profile, you could say, and just get better. And so, we're trying to go game by game, see what we got. It looks like we're coming around to being healthy, so that's a good time to start being healthy. Obviously, you got the Bulldogs rolling in, and we're. I was looking. I kind of figured Ike was coming back for that St. Mary's game. If I was a betting man and I was betting sports, I would have put any kind of money that he'd be in there for that game. And so seeing who they play with next game, and maybe he might need some rest. Maybe they sit him out, but I highly doubt that too.
You mentioned Foxwell wasn't even written in as a starter at the start of the year, but he's taken an opportunity, as you kind of mentioned, and ran with it. You look at his numbers, you watch some clips. He's a really good player.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about his game and some of the things you do to really kind of open up some opportunities for him.
Yeah, he's a very good player. Like he was good coming in, so it was one of those things where you knew he was a good player. And so, we've been more ball screens this year than we've ever been, obviously because of his talent and how he does things, and we usually build around that type of stuff. His playmaking ability, him being able to get into the line, he doesn't get into the lane. He doesn't look like it, right? When you look at him, you're like, okay, we're gonna be able to guard him. But it's crazy. He plays better against more physical and pressure than he does when guys just back off and just stay in the gap. Just so he plays against, pressure a little bit better. So, we watched a lot of different film with him. He's been in every single game for us. And I've told him 1,000 times, I said, no matter who we're playing, if you're playing at the level you can play at, we'll be in the game. Now, are we going to win it at the end? Because we've lost a lot of the games at the end. But we've put the ball in his hands. He's done pretty well this year for us.
You've played Gonzaga when you were a head coach at Eastern. Now you've been in the league for a number of years. You always have a unique adjustment of some sort, whether it's gap heavy defense or on the offensive end, you shoot a ton of threes without sharing the game's scouting
Yeah.
report and your game plan. Do you have something worked up for Wednesday's game?
Oh, it's always tough because they got like, when you watch them in the beginning of the year when they had Huff, it's like, oh my, and they're both left-handed bigs. It's like, and then their backup bigs left-handed. It's like that's almost impossible to guard for big guys. Like, most big guys, no left shoulder, no, they're just it's built in. But then you got two guys, and so you look at them and they've been playing really well. And just, when they lost both guys, like you can say, okay, you can handle, but then they switch everything. And then as they switch everything, they guard everything just fine. So the thing that's really impressed me this year with them is their defensive capabilities. It's like usually I could be like, all right, we're going to set some ball screens. We're going to be able to hit the short roll and be able to go off that. But Graham's up there hard hedging, sliding his
Yeah.
feet, move. I've never seen a guy with his back to the ball defend a defend a guy coming off. I mean, he's got him doing really well. It's hard because we're not the best 3-point shooting team this year. Some of the guys aren't playing can shoot, and so we're going to do our best to try to keep the game close as long as we can. We know they're good, and going into the game, same as going into St. Mary's, you have to have a game plan going into it, and their lack of shooting is always, you always look at their lack of shooting, but the one year I said their lack of shooting, they hit, I think, a school record of threes on it. And so, you got to pick your poison with them. It's not like you can, hey, we're going to be able to push it against them, or we're going to be able to, they're defensively, they've been so much better this year than they've been in the past. And even when they had, even when they had Chet, they were elite defensively, but they still had some places you can beat them because, Chet's doing this, but you still had places. Now you got your 2-point guards, you got number 5, you got number 8, who's like Draymond Green, just like an athletic, just then you got the freshman coming off the bench, number 4. I mean, like they got pretty much 2 guys in every position, and that's that. And then their best shooter's not playing a lot. Still, Venters, he can really shoot it. The left-handed kid, he's just once he gets going, then it's a whole nother thing. And so, you're looking at them. They're not shooting the 3 ball well. They don't shoot free throws well. But at the end of the day, they got players and they make plays. So for us, we're going to try to figure a way to try to slow them down inside. Obviously, we have to send different kind of double teams. And then we just have to compete and stay in front of the ball. I mean, number 8, man, I heard Coach Few talking about earlier in the year, but he's doing things that, put you on your heels. He hasn't shot, I don't think he shot a 3-point shot in league play. Maybe not the whole
He hasn't
season.
shot one all year.
And that goes to show for all these other guys and all these other players that think they have to be in their bag and get this 3-point shot up. He's killing. And it's pretty hard when you got him handling it. Then you got the point guard, number 3 handling. Then you got 17 coming who can shoot mid-range jump shots and threes. And so they're pretty deep in every position. So you can't be like, let's get them in foul trouble. You just hope, Graham wants to go and play some one-on-one and do a lot of different things inside.
Awesome. Well, Coach, I appreciate the time. Good luck with healing up from your Achilles, and I'll see you on Wednesday at the Child Center.
Appreciate it. I got you, man. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Let the band. Hey.